John, a single dad, was having a tough time. Raising his 6-year-old son, Ben, on his own, was a constant struggle. He worked tirelessly at a local factory, but the pay was barely enough to cover their rent and bills. Every penny was counted, and luxuries were a distant dream. One chilly evening, as John and Ben were walking home from the grocery store, carrying their meager haul, they saw a woman huddled in a doorway. She was thin, her clothes were worn, and she shivered in the cold. Ben tugged on his father's sleeve. "Dad, she looks hungry." John looked at the woman, then at the small bag of groceries in his hand. He knew they didn't have much to spare, but his son's words struck a chord. He approached the woman cautiously. "Excuse me, ma'am. Have you eaten today?" The woman looked up, her eyes filled with a deep sadness. She shook her head silently. John's heart ached. He took out the sandwich and apple he had packed for his own lunch the next day and handed them to her. "It's not much," he said, "but please, take it." The woman's eyes welled up with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Thank you so much." Ben smiled, and John felt a warmth spread through his chest that had nothing to do with the weather. It was the warmth of doing something right. They continued on their way home, leaving the woman to her small meal. John didn't think much of it afterward. It was a simple act of kindness, one he would have done for anyone in need. Life went on as usual. John continued his grueling work schedule, and Ben started first grade. Money was still tight, and the pressure was always on. Then, about 3 weeks after the encounter, there was a knock on their apartment door. John opened it to find two people in sharp, expensive suits standing in the hallway. A man and a woman, both holding briefcases. They looked completely out of place in his modest apartment building. "Can I help you?" John asked, confused. The man spoke first. "Are you John Miller?" "Yes, that's me." The woman stepped forward, handing him a business card. "We are attorneys representing Ms. Eleanor Vance." John stared at the card. He didn't know anyone named Eleanor Vance. "I'm sorry," he said. "I think you have the wrong person. I don't know any Eleanor Vance." The woman smiled slightly. "I believe you do. You met her about 3 weeks ago. You gave her a sandwich and an apple." John's mind reeled. The homeless woman, her name was Eleanor Vance, and she had lawyers. He was completely bewildered. "Please, may we come in?" the male lawyer asked. "We have something important to discuss with you." Hesitantly, John led them into his small living room. Ben was quietly playing with his toys in the corner, watching the strangers with wide eyes. The lawyers sat on his worn-out sofa, which seemed to shrink under their professional presence. "Ms. Vance wanted us to find you," the woman began. "She was deeply touched by your kindness. You see, Ms. Vance is not who you thought she was." She then told him an incredible story. Eleanor Vance was the CEO of a major corporation, a multimillionaire. She had been a powerful, influential figure in the business world. However, a year ago, she had suffered a severe mental breakdown after a series of personal tragedies. She lost her memory and ended up on the streets, with no idea who she was. Her family and company had been searching for her for months, with no success. The night John and Ben found her was one of her lowest points. She was lost, scared, and had given up hope. John's simple, selfless act of kindness was a turning point. It reminded her that there was still good in the world. Shortly after their encounter, something in her memory was triggered. She stumbled into a police station, and through her fragmented memories, they were finally able to identify her. She was now safe, recovering, and getting the medical help she needed. Her memory was slowly returning. One of the first clear memories that came back was of a kind man and his young son giving her food when she had nothing. She remembered the feeling of that simple sandwich as if it were a banquet. She was determined to find the man who had shown her such compassion. John sat in stunned silence, trying to process everything. The homeless woman he had helped was a millionaire CEO. It felt like something out of a movie. "Ms. Vance wants to thank you," the male lawyer continued. "Your kindness had a profound impact on her. She believes it was the spark that helped her start her journey back. And she wants to repay you." He opened his briefcase and took out a folder. Inside was a legal document. "Ms. Vance has set up a trust fund for your son, Ben," the lawyer explained. "It will cover his entire education, all the way through university, no matter where he chooses to go." John's jaw dropped. He looked over at Ben, who was now looking at him with a curious expression. The biggest worry in John's life, the thing that kept him up at night, was whether he could provide a good future for his son. And now, that worry was gone. But that wasn't all. Furthermore, the female lawyer added, "Ms. Vance would like to offer you a position. She owns a charitable foundation dedicated to helping the homeless and those struggling with mental health. She believes your compassion and integrity would make you an invaluable asset. The position is a managerial role, with a salary that would allow you and your son to live very comfortably." She named a figure that was more than triple what John was currently earning. Tears welled up in John's eyes. He couldn't speak. He thought about his leaky roof, the constant anxiety over bills, the exhaustion he felt every single day. This wasn't just a reward, it was a new life. A life where he could provide for Ben without worry, and where he could spend his days helping others, just as he had helped Eleanor. It was a dream he never dared to have. Why? John finally managed to ask, his voice thick with emotion. Why, me? The lawyer smiled warmly. Ms. Vance said, because he didn't help me expecting a reward. He helped me because he has a good heart. That's the kind of person I want in my life, and that's the kind of person the world needs more of. John looked at his son, Ben, who had given up his toys and was now standing beside him, holding his hand. He realized this incredible turn of events all started with a simple lesson he was trying to teach his son: be kind. John accepted the offer without hesitation. A few weeks later, he and Ben moved into a new, comfortable home. John learned that day that a single act of kindness, no matter how small, can create ripples that change the world in ways you can never imagine. Thanks for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. See you next time.